Hello, my loves, and welcome to a fresh drop on the channel. Thank you so much for being here with me. Today, I want to talk a little bit about shifting our money reality from the inside out. If you see me looking down, it's because I have my notes on my laptop down below, and I want to make sure that I keep us structured. Our subconscious mind helps to hold our current financial reality in place through beliefs, through our identity, through the stories that we subscribe to. The structure of our brain is such that our conscious mind, which exists in our prefrontal cortex, is the part that you are hearing me from right now, the part that I'm speaking to you from right now. It is the part where we make decisions, but it is not the part that actually runs the show. The part of our brain that actually runs the show is the subconscious mind. And I always like point to the back because I feel like it's like back here somewhere. Our subconscious mind is the place that holds all of the functions of our body, regulates our heart, regulates our breathing, makes sure that our blood flows, makes sure that our digestion works, all the pieces. That all happens in the subconscious mind. We don't need to consciously think through doing these things. When we are wanting to shift our money reality, what so many of us do, and I have certainly done this myself, because this is certainly what has been taught for so many years. We attempt to start on the outside by thinking that we need a better budget, by thinking that we need to earn more income, by attempting to follow financial advice from different experts and gurus and people who are successful. And all of those things can be helpful to a degree, but they will always revert back to whatever is your default interior programming. We hold our current financial reality in place through identity and beliefs. So if you say things like, I'm bad with money, or I'm always in debt, I'm always behind, I can't get ahead, I don't understand money, those things will override any exterior work that you attempt to do. So even if you find yourself earning more, even if you find yourself, maybe you've had a desire to save and finally you're saving, but now it goes away, it's because the internal hasn't shifted yet and it hasn't fully aligned as yet with what you want to experience. Let's talk about this in a different framework, because I find sometimes that when we focus so hard on the topic of money, it becomes very difficult to actually internalize and tangentialize. I don't think that's a word, but we'll make it up. What's happening? Imagine that you wanted to teach something, but you have a belief. You identify as someone who doesn't learn well, who's a slow learner, who doesn't explain things very well, but yet you have this desire that you want to teach, that you want to impart knowledge and share wisdom with others, whether it's like teaching in a school where you're teaching kids, or you are creating programs and content and courses and things like that where you're teaching in that way. So long as you're holding an identity that stands in conflict with where you want to go, that identity will continue to override. Now, here's the thing, and this is something that I don't think is taught yet, and I want to create some clarity around. I've thought about this a lot as it relates to my own background. So I am a retired interior designer. I went to university for design. So I did a 4-year degree that focused on architecture with a specialization of interior design. When I finished my degree, I had a piece of paper that said I had my degree, and then I got jobs working in the field in and around design work. I've thought about this a lot because before, I didn't even consider that I could be an interior designer. I was a girl who grew up in rural Manitoba. I grew up on a farm in a small town of less than 4,000 people. The idea to me that I could actually become an interior designer was kind of ludicrous. And it was someone who reflected to me that said, hey, Amy, have you ever considered studying interior design? That finally unlocked that idea that it could be possible for someone like me, especially because they reflected back to me when I said, well, I can't be an interior designer. Like, what do I know about it? And they reflected to me, but you've been doing this all along. The identity shift happened slowly over time. This is the thing that I think really trips us up when it comes to something like changing our financial reality. The identity shift one of my brother-in-laws is an engineer. He didn't start university with the identity of I'm an engineer. He finished university with the identity of an engineer and has built a career in that way and now is very strong in that identity. But it was built slowly over time. When it comes to our financial identity, that also has been built slowly over time. But in many cases, and for the vast majority of us, and probably all of us, it was primarily built not by ourselves. We didn't intentionally go into a program that said, okay, I am now going to build this financial identity. We have been learning about money, and we've been building our beliefs and our frameworks about money and the identity that we hold about money from birth, from the people who are around us. When I first understood that this was how our belief systems started, that from 0 to 7, we're basically a wide open subconscious mind, and everything that we are told or that we experience goes straight into our subconscious. And then it becomes the blueprint for how we live our life. I felt really disheartened by it because I thought, how am I going to change something that I'm unaware of that happened before I was even aware of like conscious thought? How am I ever going to do that? Now, there are absolutely ways, and I teach this inside the Wealthy as Fuck program, which is coming open for enrollment later this month. But the thing that I think really trips us up when it comes to money specifically is we are already, in a way, many of us, operating from like 10 steps backward, but we want to be 20 steps forward. We have this old identity that we feel in constant friction with. And if you're unsure of how to, what is the money identity that I have, we go in this in depth inside Wealthy as Fuck, but you can even just like very simply have a look in your life right now and just look at what does money look like in your life? If you are someone who has always had debt, then there is an identity that is related to that is like, I am always in debt, or I am a person who has debt, or I don't know anything different than debt, and therefore that's all that can arrive for me. If you are someone who saves money really well, but like are really stingy or incapable of spending it, even on things that you want to, that gives you again an insight, a glimpse into the identity that you hold as it comes to money. Because the truth is, it's always being reflected out like around us and in our life. It just is difficult for us to see it because it's so ingrained in our experience. And the challenge is not just that, we feel like we want to be 20 steps ahead, but we're actually starting 10 steps behind, and that we don't fully see our financial identity. It's also, we want it to change more quickly. The thing about shifting identities, I suspect, is that it happens slowly and steadily over time. Over the course of 4 years, through daily work, through daily exposure to this particular world, I built the belief and the supporting identity that says I am a designer. Part of the root of that is I always have known I'm a creative person. And I've had so many clients over the years that say, oh, I would love to be a designer, but I'm just not creative. And so it's an interesting tie between the two, that we believe we need to be creative in order for us to be capable of doing design work. And I suppose there's a little bit of that, but it's actually about our belief. Everybody is creative. Everybody's creative. You're creative. I'm creative. Everybody is creative. All of us are creating all of the time. It looks different for different folks. So I want to come back to this place of the identity that we have with our money is what determines what we are experiencing. The challenge, I think, that exists in the world right now is there's so much knowledge, there's so much insight, there's so many people like me out here on YouTube and various channels attempting to provide insight and awareness into different things. that we have found ourselves a little bit in a cycle of constantly trying to fix the thing. And I know I for sure have felt this way, where I felt like there must be something wrong with me, that I can't seem to change what's happening on the outside. What started to shift that for me, what started to shake loose that foundation for me, was when I started to pose the question, what if there isn't anything wrong at all? But what if actually I've just never been taught how it works? What if there's nothing wrong with what I'm doing, but I never actually was exposed to the insights that would actually move the needle? What if I'm not making mistakes? What if I'm actually doing everything completely correct? I just didn't know there were other ways to do it. And it's the heart of these questions that got me to bring together more than 20 years of research and experimentation and knowledge and insight into the Wealthy as Fuck program. Because I started to consider that it might not have anything to do with being wrong or making mistakes. And it may have something to do with shifting our identity. But we can only shift our identity once we begin to understand that something else might be possible. If never in your life you've ever seen someone get married, then, and I realize it sounds silly because like if you exist in the world, you've seen someone get married, but imagine, if you will, for just a moment, that no one has ever been married. In fact, there isn't even really a word for married. This concept, this idea even, that two separate people would come together and do a ceremony and like write their names on paper and be considered by some legal entity as joined. When we start to explain it that way, it seems really silly, right? So imagine if you'd never ever seen anything like that, and now you have this desire that says, I really would like to be deeply committed to that person, and I would like our legal structure to acknowledge that I am connected permanently to this person, and I would like our financial structures to operate differently if I am connected to this person. But like if not, that doesn't exist, it becomes very difficult for us to build the identity. So I want to leave you with the knowledge that your identity is not in concrete, that you have the ability at any time to shift it, that some elements of your identity will be easier and more quickly shift than others, and that however long you've been on the planet, you have had exposure to your money frameworks and the stories that make up your money beliefs for the entire time since you were born. So if you've been really struggling and feeling like, I just can't seem to get ahead, I just can't seem to change these, why not? I would offer to you that if you're 20, you've had 20 years of living out this story that somebody else handed to you. If you're 40, you've had 40 years of living out this framework that somebody else handed to you. So it's not about what am I doing wrong? You're actually doing everything correctly, but you're operating from a system that isn't designed to bring you the results that you want to have. And if you want to begin rewriting the system, if you want to discover some of the things that have just been like feeding into this framework that you weren't even aware of and they're getting in your way, come join me inside Wealthy as Fuck. The waitlist is open now. When you join the waitlist, you will receive early enrollment to the Wealthy as Fuck program, as well as a $1,000 off coupon code, which will be sent to you the moment that pre-enrollment opens up. Head on over to amyvanmeel.com/money to join the waitlist today. Capture yourself that $1,000 coupon code and get ready for the pre-enrollment. If you have enjoyed this video, if it has given you some insight and some shifts, I would really love it if you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And if you really want to make my heart sing, it'd be amazing if you share this video out with friends and family as well. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.